came back. Are you kidding me? Did you hear that?
Yeah, no, of course I did.
Sorry, okay.
Leave it
in. Hi, my name is Lou.
And I'm Katie.
And you're listening to Files from the Other Side. This week, we are catching up.
Yeah, because we're back and better than ever.
Hopefully.
It's been a minute. Sorry, y'all. We said we were back on the last one, and then we disappeared for 2 months. No, on the real, Lou had just got married. I just moved, and then by the time we were settled and actually to be back on track, I actually started dealing with a bunch of medical bullshit, this crazy hormonal imbalance. So had to get that. Got a lot of medical bullshit dealt with. I got my cholesterol tested for the first time ever. And yeah, by the time I was back up to 100, Lou had their documentary that they needed to focus on. And so, yeah, it's just, Lou's been doing documentaries and fucking Bigfoot hunting. It sounds like, I don't know any details about Bigfoot hunting yet. I watched the documentary though.
What do you think about the documentary?
The documentary was great. I need to watch it again. But it was... Okay, the drone shots floored me. I was like, what? This is so legit. Not that I thought you wouldn't be legit, but, it was so much more legit than I was anticipating.
I thought the drone shots were hilarious to me, because I just was it looks like a drone shot. At the end one, I think is where it gets messy, where he tries to bring it into us, and then he goes this way, and then he brings...
I thought it was cute, though.
Yeah. Well, thank you for those kind words. The other thing about our catching up is that podcasting is hard, to maintain all the time. I think, actually, I know a lot of podcasts who don't do frequent things, but then I know a lot of people where it's their business to do that. Yeah. We're kind of in the middle here, where it's we're having fun, but we're very invested, right, in the process. So we're back better than ever and ready to talk at you guys again, hopefully for some time before we go on another hiatus.
Yeah, little longer before in between seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
but
it was...
The documentary, okay, that was an entire paranormal experience that I could talk about, but I really hope you guys go watch it. Because I put my whole heart to see into it. And I think we got some good paranormal activity, I guess I'll say. I don't want to say evidence, but it feels like it was fun activity, you know?
There was some activity.
There was some activity already, yeah.
Whew. That was wild. I just see about the candle flickering. And if you want to know what the fuck I'm talking about, go watch Heirloom on YouTube.
The same place you can see this podcast, you can watch that documentary. So go ahead, hop over to that.
Only an hour of your life that we're asking for.
And it's fun, and it's cool.
And it was fun. And
I'm proud of myself.
You should be. As well you should be. We're proud of you. Me and all 3 listeners.
Thank you.
No, we actually have more. I've had some people reach out and be like, "Oh, I listened to blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Oh, guys,
that's so nice.
Thank you so much." And people at work will be like, "How's the podcast going?" And I was like, "I was dealing with a whole bunch of getting my health in order right now. I have not had the time nor energy to do it. I just started exercising again for the first time since I was in high school."
Yeah.
So.
Well.
It's. Yeah.
But we're here.
That's
what's important, listeners. Yeah. And yeah, so I guess the only other paranormal thing that I was up to lately was going Bigfoot hunting in the Colville National Forest. It's again,
because we went Bigfoot hunting in the Colville National Forest in November, but you actually went camping.
Yeah, we went
this time.
that I think is the biggest difference between the experiences is like we weren't just there for a little bit.
Yeah.
But okay, so how we started the investigation, like I had shown Cheyenne of Paranorthwest how all of our like previous investigations that me and you did, so the stuff that's on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling her like there's some stuff with sounds like going on, and
The knocks.
the knocks, and like we were trying to prepare for this trip and like what like we techniques we wanted to use to sort of investigate. And I shit you not, we pull up. Okay, so here's the funniest part of the whole story is that as soon as we started driving out of town, it started dumping rain and thunderstorms. So like just torrential downpour, right?
No.
And then we get to the campsite, hasn't stopped. So everything's all wet and we're losing daylight. It was like 7:30 p.m. by the time we roll up to this campsite, just because that's when Cheyenne got off work at some other point. So we were late pulling up to this camping spot. And it's not a camping spot that's like among a lot of there's other camping spots like near it, but it's like they're very few and far between in like a huge forest. So it's not like a campground by any means. It's like this weird turn off in the middle of the woods. And so we start like as soon as possible trying to get the tent set up in the rain.
Of course.
Because we were like, if we don't do this now, we're losing daylight and we won't have the place to sleep. Well, our dumbasses were stuck in that tent for an hour and a half and never fucking got it up. And it rained over us the whole time.
No. Were you able to get, like, was there a tarp or were you guys getting soaked in the tent?
Dude, it stopped raining the minute we stopped putting up the tent.
Oh my god.
So we're like a little, like I had to sit in the car for a little bit because I was gonna cry. I was like, I'm gonna cry. This is awful. And then I needed an emotional reset. And so I sat in the car and I think I prevented myself from getting way more wet than I could have gotten because I was inside the tent for that like hour and a half we were trying to put it up, because the instructions for the poles were that they go inside the tent, and I was like, they were bad instructions. And they were bad users. Like just was horrible all around. But by the time the rain stopped and we had sat around the fire, it started getting like a lot drier and like we were smoked out and stuff. So it was fine after that. But we had all decided like if we wanted to sleep, we're just gonna have to sleep in the car. And all of us kind of decided to stay up all night. So that's kind of what we did.
Well, isn't that what Cheyenne had suggested originally?
That was her plan the whole time. I just think she wanted to make sure that if anyone else wanted to sleep, that we get the tent up. But I think after the tent debacle, we all just collectively gave up. So it's pretty funny. And then like so we start sitting around the fire and I don't know, maybe like, I think this happened maybe after, but so Cheyenne smudges and says a prayer to like protect our space and invite in the ancestors and specifically call in Bigfoot, right? Mm-hmm. And then I think we all start sitting around the fire and we were all talking for a second, and then all of a sudden we hear these fucking strange sounds coming from behind where Cheyenne was sitting, and it was like, if I could describe it, it was like monkeys. It sounded like straight up monkeys in the woods. Like, and it was funny because we were like, is it coyotes? Is it a wolf? Is it a cougar? Is it like an owl? Like, what could have made that sound? It sounded like several distinct animals. And it was these like whooping sounds. Like, so we thought coyotes.
Oh my god, why can't I remember how to do the fucking Bigfoot call now? Oh.
So we were like, what the, so we actually have those on recording, those sounds, and I mean, by the time we started recording them, they weren't as loud as when we had started hearing them. So the first, like kind of thing that starts happening in this investigation is the sounds. And so I'm just like I could feel when we were driving up to the spot, my ears had opened up, like my psychic ears had like opened up. And I feel like there's just so much evidence of like an entity that plays on sounds, and it could be Bigfoot, like, because that's what we were there for. But like, it dawned on me in that moment that like we're gonna have congruent experiences with weird sounds. So we continue to investigate. We do the whooping. We played some music. We played this like native song about Bigfoot. And like lots of weird sounds, just different sounds happening like every time we did something. At some point though, okay, so we hear sticks breaking, like definitely some big footed animals stepping on sticks in the woods, and then we see the branches moving like right ahead of us, and we see a creature is like so near our camp that we can see the branches right in front of us moving, and it goes down towards the creek, and all of us were like hairs raised, like pinged, like we were like, oh my god, no.
I'm like about to cry, like thinking about it. Like I'm tearing up, like ah!
It was so scary because we didn't know if it was like another human who like was being creepy, a cougar or a deer, right? It could be like any end of that spectrum, or Bigfoot, right? Like the possibility that he was just camouflaged, we couldn't see him, but he was stepping like where we were looking. And we couldn't see anything. Like, we couldn't see anything. And it had, like, lingered sort of by us, like, making itself known that it was there before it had gone down to the creek. We heard it go down to the creek. It was so scary. And, like, everybody was on edge because we were like, yes, we want to see Bigfoot, but no, we don't want it to be a cougar.
Yeah. How far, like, okay, branches moving, where approximately, like what height is it? Like 4 feet? That could be cougar height, like 6 to
like
4 feet,
like 4 feet. But I also saw, like, it's like one of those things where it's like you see what's obvious but maybe not what's not so obvious. Like it had to have been big enough to break a branch, but it wasn't so tall that it was reaching the higher branches of the trees. But there was a lot of big brush down there, like in the hill. So it's hard to tell how big it actually was, but I'd say that I don't know. I have a feeling it wasn't Bigfoot, like in all inclination. I think I think it might have been an animal that was trying to like let us know it was there.
Yeah.
Which is scary, but how we kind of responded was we all joined as a body, like a big body, and made ourselves like really big and started like yelling to get it to go away, and it went away, and we never saw anything ever again. Like
maybe it was a bear.
And it's funny because later in the Gainesfeld, when Cheyenne goes under, she says she sees a bear circling our camp. I either thought it was a deer that like was hiding real good because she was skinny or whatever, or it was something like a bear or cougar, because I was like, I don't know what kind of animal would want to make itself known like that and then linger while we were making ourselves big. Like if it was a deer, it may have gone like really fast because it was like, I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
Right. But I feel like it might have been more of a predatory animal.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it was a bear.
That sounds cool. But also scary as hell.
No, yeah, terrifying. Legit terrifying. Bears are scary, but also very cool.
So we went under the Estes method, or I went under the Estes method, and it was so cool. It was so cool.
Okay.
One of the best Estes methods I've ever done. It was like I was full on having a conversation with the group. Every time they asked a question, I would answer it. And to me, I'm like under, right? And I remember everything that happened while I was under, everything I saw and was told mostly, especially since I have the video. But like, what's eerie is that like, I truly cannot hear them. I cannot understand when or what they're saying when they say it. So it's not like, it's so fun. There was this moment in the Estes method where like Cheyenne asks like, do you want any food? And then I go, he's waiting for a plate. He's waiting for a seat at the table. And then she goes, yeah, we like brought you some fry bread. And then I remember, she asked the question, like, did you like our calls or our whooping calls? And then I said, no, but I like the music or something like that. And then she asks another question kind of like that, and then I say, I want salty fish. I just scream it. I want salty fish. It was so funny, but it felt like it connected a little bit to ours too, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, he talked about wanting fish in our Estes method on Halloween. I also, that sounds like something Bigfoot would want. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
bears.
But bears.
We gotta be responsible campers and not get mauled by bears, because bears also like fish.
Well, and so what's weird is like, okay, so there was those moments where I was like talking back and forth to the group, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also I was like, it was very visual. And so I was not only describing what I was hearing, but also seeing. And it was like there was a portal in the woods that I was seeing. I was like, yeah, there's like a portal like back behind where Shayla's car was parked. And I described everything to them. It's a really compelling Estes method.
Is it on YouTube?
We haven't posted it yet. I think they might have wanted to post it in a longer video of like everything that they had together. So they might do that. And I'll let everyone know when that's out. But
yeah.
Then we kind of go into the night like just being really freaked out, hearing so many more sounds, like feeling just this eeriness around us. And then we jump early in the morning, probably like between 3 and 4 a.m. we jump into the Gainesfeld, and Cheyenne is describing a different creature also.
That's the ping pong balls with the red light, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wait,
so
can you take a second to explain to everyone, because that also is not doesn't explain anything what I just said.
The Estes is well, I'll do both. The Estes is a method where you do sensory deprivation with mostly your ears so that you can hear through the white noise to produce intelligent communication with another being. The Gansfeld, I think, might have been developed actually earlier, but the idea is that you still have white noise, but you have like a red light shining into your eyes so that it's supposed to actually bring you closer to contact with aliens, but it's another form of sensory deprivation in your vision that allows you to kind of hallucinate images. But the people who developed it like say that like it's how you can perceive different dimensions, different realms, the spirit realm, whatever. And Cheyenne even said like in the podcast that they released about this Bigfoot thing was that with the Gansfeld, it's hard because you can kind of remote view. And that's like a hard thing to describe, is how you are in and out of remote viewing at the same time as like being in that other realm. Sometimes they blend together in a really weird way, so it's hard to describe. Like I felt that same way under the Estes, where I was like, I'm definitely just remote viewing this camp, but I can see the spiritual.
Yeah.
So it's like not these things that may look empty are not empty, or if that makes sense. And in Cheyenne's Gansfeld, she it was like she was watching like me move around. She was watching Shayla. There was this other creature that had come and we've been talking about it all day because I was like, I think that it was like a different creature than what we assume it was. And she was like, because they were talking about it being aliens. But I was like, I don't think that was an alien. I think that was some other, like, very specific supernatural creature. And they did a AI mock-up of what they thought it was, it looks like an alien. But I was asking her more specific questions, and I said, like, because she described it as being bandaged, like it was hurt or sick. And I said, usually, like, I looked this up, and Google told me that a creature in a fantasy setting that might be bandaged, what it would mean if a creature was bandaged, or like different lore, like if I could bring up a lore, right, to just kind of meet the image. And it said that like creatures wrapped in bandages also represent beings with unknown origins, or those whose true nature is concealed beneath the bandage. And I thought that was really compelling, because I was like, I think that's kind of what we're dealing with, is something is like bad and like hiding behind sort of like a I'm so sick kind of vibe. But then I started looking up like more, and I found that the Japanese Shinigami, the gods of death, actually are often bandaged. And I remembered, oh yeah, I've seen Death Note. Like in the anime Death Note, at least 2 of the Shinigami are bandaged. And so I started sending pics to Cheyenne. We started talking about it being a Shinigami. I like, it's one of those things where it's like when it pops up for you like that, it's what you choose to do with it that kind of matters. Like, we didn't really care so much that it was there, but it's interesting that we saw that image there.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the time we were talking to Bigfoot. All of the other communication we were talking to Bigfoot. But then just this random, like, what, to me, the most convincing argument I have is a Shinigami. But, it's like, is it worth it to confirm it? Is it worth it to get into that? Because that is a whole other thing that is, like, kind of relatively paranormally, like, harmful for humans to interact with. So,
yeah,
you know? But yeah, that would, oh, actually, no, I'm missing the last key detail that I think is super fun. I may have gotten a picture of a fairy.
Wait, what?
Yes, like an actual picture of a fairy. Like, shit you not. So I just posted on Instagram just now, actually.
I'm like, now I'm like upset that you kept this from me for the last like week. Now I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
Okay, so I'm gonna attempt to show you the fairy.
Or
so
just text it to me. Oh,
well, I was gonna show the camera just to see if it'll
okay.
pop up. Maybe not, but.
But also just text it to me.
I took this series of photos. There's like 10 photos, right? And it's me just panning from one side of the campfire to the other. And there's a fairy in the fire. Like, I don't know how else to say it, but there's a fucking fairy in the fire. So I just sent you the photo. And let me see if I can hold this up also for the audience to see.
Oh my god.
Do you see that little fairy in that fucking photo? Okay, so the succession of 10 photos, it never moves from that spot.
Wait, show it again on the thing. Let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing.
Yeah, sure. I think you were, because if you said, oh my god, you probably saw her. She's right there.
Right? Okay.
But, so it's like, I was like, I'd be convinced if it was like a thing of the light, if it had moved with my camera, right? If the light reflection had moved with my camera, it stayed in the same spot in the smoke the whole time I was taking the pan. So it's like it's almost like it flew in while I was taking the pictures, and then I
warmed up a little bit,
and then I like go in for it, and then it's like just like hanging out there in the fire. Isn't it sick?
What the fuck is that?
Right? And it's like it's like, not that my naked eye saw that. And also, like, okay, so I had some...
No, because it would have been too smoky, because she looks smoky. Like, she looks disguised.
She looks like she's using the element of fire or an air, like the smoke, right? To come through. Like, the veil. Like, that alchemical way of thinking about it. Like, that's where she, like, you can see her there, but you can't see her if she's not sort of in an elemental space. It was just interesting. And then also, like, it was funny because I got that photo, and then I started thinking about fairies the whole time. So I go up the hill in the morning at some time to squat, right? And I literally look down while I'm squatting, and I see this fucking ring of tiny-ass mushrooms. And I'm like, there's a fairy ring for you. I was like, that's what they are. They're fairy rings, those tiny little circles of mushrooms. Or they can be any size, like they can be huge mushrooms, but if they grow in a circle, it means there's a fairy ring, right? And I look down and I'm just like, oh shit. And then I'm like, sorry, I almost peed on you. And then left. And then I'm tromping through the forest because at a certain time in the morning we were out of firewood, so we just had to go like looking for this firewood. And I go back behind the car where I thought the portals were, and I see this like beautiful little like oasis of flowers back there. And I'm like, I like say aloud to myself, and Cheyenne's kind of nearby, and I was like, I'm not going to go tromping through the fairy forest for wood. I think I'm going to go somewhere else. And as soon as I say that, I turn and I go up this hill, and there's like this plethora of firewood to choose from. And Cheyenne, and I look at Cheyenne, I'm like, I just found some wood. And then she goes to tell Shayla at the camp. She's like, I think the fairies just gave Skylar the wood.
It sounds like it.
It was so funny. Like, it was so weird that just had popped up as like part of
Didn't fairies come up in our investigation, or you thought it might have been fairies or something like that? Was not big, like, I feel like fairies came up in some fashion. Is
I
that
feel
the
like Bigfoot
knocking?
might be a fairy.
Mm.
Like, because, I mean, closely related. I don't think it's like, obviously he's not a fairy, but he's like, it's like the same thing, earth elemental spirits.
Mm.
Like, kind of. Just the very same category of thing.
No.
And so I think in this particular paranormal instance, I don't think we were alone at all in those woods. Like, with animals, with the spirit of animals, with the fairies, the Shinigami, the other creatures that I saw trying to get through the portal when I was talking to Bigfoot, and Bigfoot himself having a whole ass conversation with us.
What other creatures did you see trying to come through the portal?
So it was weird because I couldn't actually see them, like, because they were on the other side of the portal. But
Mm.
it's like I could see them reaching through this like shimmery, like sort of stretchy material. And they were like, yeah, it was like they were going like this, like trying to get through it, kicking through it. And at some point, it was funny because they asked in the Estes method, they said, how can Lou's spirit travel through the barrier? And then I directly say right after, I said, it has to be a trade. If I go through, something else comes out. And so what I did when I set, and it's funny because I'm really glad that I didn't ever go through the barrier because I didn't want my spirit to get stuck.
No.
So what I did was I just like watched what I could see through the barrier. And I could see Bigfoot wanted to talk, so I could see him through the barrier, and that's when we started talking about all his questions and stuff, and he didn't leave for a while. But I could tell, like, while I was talking to him, there were these other creatures, like, further down, because the portal was like a wall,
Yeah.
a stretch of the woods, and then there's a creek that runs straight through, but the wall broke on the creek. So it was like, it started going like this, and then it went like this, right? So it was almost like boxing in parts of the forest. And I could see that there was a portal on the other side of the creek. So it was like a whole, like, linear, like, almost like a line, but it would break at the water, where the water was. But you could see it would still go past, like, deeper into the woods. So it was very bizarre, like, honestly. Like, but I will say probably one of my coolest, like, adventures with paranormal. Like, I felt like the whole time I was freaked out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that is so much. That is, wow. So jealous. So sad I
Yeah.
didn't get to be there.
You'll have to join us for a camping trip next summer or something, because
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe next time we'll catch him.
Well, I mean, it's,
I got a fucking photo of a fairy though. I don't know.
it was
It's
like you
it's
got a
straight
photo
on.
of a fairy. Like there was definitely some bear activity. Like you got spooked in that way. That sounds like a great time. Oh,
Yeah. So that was the trip that we had the other weekend, and
that sounds like so much fun.
yeah.
I've just been doing a whole bunch of journaling and yoga.
Good.
It's been great, but nothing. No, I volunteered recently. That was fun.
What did you do?
I worked at the Presidio nursery, so I got to do some plant stuff. I washed a shitload of fucking pots for the Presidio nursery. I got to use a power hose for the first time.
Ooh.
And like, because I'm sure I used one in college when I was landscaping, but yeah, for the first time in like 8-9 years, I got to use a power hose. It was fun, very fulfilling. Highly recommend volunteering. In light of everything that's going on, we just like, and also our break, we needed a little hiatus. So we're just gonna come at you with some recommendations for things to like volunteering. Like I care deeply about food waste, but I also work in the service industry and am around food all the fucking time, and I'm not serving it to people as volunteer work on my day off. That's just not gonna happen. So I volunteered, and I have another volunteer thing doing like restoration stuff around for the Golden Gates
That's cool.
Conservancy. I was like, it's summertime, it's beautiful. It's not here, but it's foggy as fuck. So Yeah, fan of volunteering. I had a good time. I would probably, I don't know if I would do it every Saturday because the Sabbath, but got a couple Saturdays coming up here. But some books that I would recommend reading. I just read All About Love by Bell Hooks, and that is about like how nobody knows how to actually love or respect one another. It's great. She defines love as like caring about one's or another's spiritual needs and expansion and growth. And I think that that actually encapsulates what like real love is. Quit Like a Woman by Holly Whitaker, as always. Go read it. It's amazing. A lot of amazing stuff. And then I'm going to also recommend Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins, which I'm going to reread soon because I'm going to buy a new copy of it. And there's a new one, and I'm going to read that version too.
I have a couple books that I recommend too. I have Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Maree Brown. That one is about, it evaluates movement work, but it also talks about how to do revolutionary work in a certain strategy called Emergent Strategy. And she like really lays out her theory. But the way the book is written is beautiful. Like it's so different than a lot of other books I've read. And it's so anecdotal. It's fun to follow along. And it feels like a workbook too, which I think can be fun for people.
I like a workbook.
Yeah. And then I haven't finished this one, but I have like an hour left of it on my audiobook. I just have to re-rent it from Libby to finish the last hour because it was like 18 hours or something crazy. But it's called Infinity Alchemist by Kaysen Callender, and it is a super gay like magical romance fantasy book. Just wizards fucking, but also trying to do magical things. And it was just fun read. It was super, like, it's full of longing, and I really like that. Like, it felt good, and it felt so queer. Like, it felt so good and queer. And then the last book I have is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El Motair or Max Gladstone. And that is also a fictional novel. It's also queer, and I don't want to give away too much because it's hard to not give away the plot, but the way it's written is really cool. It's letters from two different like people. I guess they're not even people, but like two different entities talking to one another, and then they like fall in love basically. But it's tragic because they're on opposite sides of like said war. And it just follows these two characters the whole book, and it's riveting. And it's full of passion. And it's funny actually that I'm even recommending fiction books because I haven't read a lot of fiction in a long time. I tend to read a lot of nonfiction, but I recently was told by my tarot reader to delve into the realm of fiction again just to like really feed my imagination. So
it's so fun. Fiction is, I don't think I have a single fiction book on this list. I have so many, because I have 3 different sections of books. There's so many more recommendations of books that I wrote down. We're just whittling it down a little bit. And my next section's only half read books. Like, I'm like, I started to read this and this is fun. Like, this was really cool. I finished most of Spy Schools by Daniel Gold. That one's fun. That one's about how the intelligence agencies recruit from research colleges and about how we spy on different countries through our research institutes and foreign exchange programs. So the show Chuck,
yeah,
Matt Bomer gets recruited while he's at Stanford. That's a real thing that happens.
Yes, that makes sense to me.
That's a thing.
So Chuck is real, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about The Intercept, but whatever the fuck he is. Yeah. Move Fast and Break Things by Jonathan Taplin is how like it was like how Facebook and Amazon cornered culture and undermined democracy or something like that. Like that's the full thing. By Jonathan Taplin. That one's great. Also a real thing. So you guys remember that show Upload?
I don't think I've ever heard of that or seen that.
Okay, so there's this show on Upload on Amazon Prime, which is actually like trying to get to a place where I can actually cancel all my Prime shit. Because fuck Bezos, he doesn't need more money. Speaking of recommendations, boycotts. But it is a show on Prime, or it was on Prime for a while, and it's about like uploading your consciousness after you die to like an app. And people pay for you to keep living. And that's a real thing that Silicon Valley is trying to do. And he talks about it in Move Fast and Break Things. Yeah. Amongst a lot of other things, like about how like there's no money in the music business anymore and Jeff Bezos gets all the money for every book ever now. Oh my God. You personally, Lou, would love The Secret History of the World probably by Mark Booth. I'm actually going to recommend all of these because I think they're all fascinating. Dark Money. But Secret History of the World is about like esoteric, like secret societies throughout history. Dark Money by Jane Mayer is about the Cook family. And then The Devil's Chessboard is about Alan Dulles and the beginning of the CIA by David Talbot.
Okay.
And that one, and again, these are all books I haven't finished, but
thoroughly
will at some point. But thoroughly enjoyed the third half to 2/3 that because I read most of Spy Schools, and most of Move Fast and Break Things, but only like halfway the rest of them.
My other recommendations come from TV and podcast. Altered Carbon on Netflix. Altered Carbon is such an interesting show, and I've watched it so many times. It's it's dystopian, and it's like if there was in sort of like an intergalactic war. It's very particular, but like there are these things called envoys, and basically there are these rebels who worked against the Protectorate, who was this police force who like enforced these like really crazy extraction from other planets, the genocides that were happening, right? And so these envoys, like they were killed by the Protectorate, but one of them lives on for a really long time because the whole premise of the show is that consciousness can be uploaded, and it goes into something called a little stack, and then it gets shoved into your fucking spine, and you can stack somebody, which is killing their stack. Like you can kill somebody by destroying the stack, but you can't really kill a person if you just destroy their body. And so he's basically this like super rebel spy who like tries to get justice in a world that's like very wealthy and poor. Like the wealth gap is so far. And it's an incredible story, and it only has 2 seasons. Like, it's not a very long story. My favorite character in the whole TV show is Poe, and he's an AI. And the way that AI works in this is brilliant, too. I'm like, it's just such an incredible show. And it really taps into what's going on in the world now. And I think that's one of the brilliant things about dystopia, like literature and media and stuff like that. The other 2 recommendations I have, one is a podcast, well, they're 2 podcasts. Pair Northwest, obviously, I feel like I have to drop that in. Plus my friends are fucking funny. So if you're a listener of podcasts and you listen and enjoy this one, you'll also listen to and enjoy that one. But a really cool astrology podcast is called Yappin' with the Stars by Dr. Nicole Rawls. She has a YouTube and a Substack called Embodied Strategic Dreaming. And I love the way that she talks about astrology. I feel like I tap into her alignment a lot, so it's a good way to sit down every week, listen to her podcast, and be like, okay, how does this apply to my life? Plus, she's always asking very vital and important questions, like about the world around you, about your life, and just like very challenging, I think. And it's not just like, this is what's happening in the stars, let it be. It's like, what are you going to choose to do with that then? And I love that podcast too.
Yeah.
So, do you have any more?
I mean, now we're on the books that I haven't read. So, the only one I feel really comfortable doing is The Beauty Myth by Naomi Wolf, which I haven't read yet. The End of Reality by Jonathan Taplin, which is about billionaires. And then Do Better by Rachel Ricketts, which is about racism in America. Oh, Book of Joy, Archbishop Desmond Tutu and the 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso. I'm also very excited about reading that one. That's also on the list of, also on my thrift books. That's another recommendation. Thrift books. Yeah. If you want to buy books, If you don't want to go to the library, if you're like me and books are decoration as well as for your intellect, because I swear I use books as decoration. Oh.
Yeah, my library's just gotten bigger with my thrift books addiction, honestly. So
Yeah.
I was going to recommend the other just two things I have are tarot decks, actually.
Fuck yeah.
One of my very favorite tarot decks that I don't think a lot of people have, so I'm going to put you on, is called the New Era Elements deck, and I think I may have shown people. People have seen it before from me, but I swear by that deck. I think it meets a paradigm shift in the world very nicely. And then also, shout out to my queer tarot deck, which Para Northwest had gifted to me, I think for my birthday. And that deck has been serving me well. Like, it's a really pretty deck, vibrant colors. So, I've been enjoying that deck as well. So, those are my things, too. Yeah. Out of all of this plate of recommendations we've given you, dear audience, enjoy your time. Do with it what you will.
You have so much content now that's not on TikTok. Get the fuck off of TikTok.
Especially now that Meta has the back door. I feel like it was better before. Now it sucks.
I literally overheard a table today talking about how Meta and AI are just like the absolute worst things that could have possibly happened to our planet. And I was like I just watered them and I was like putting the water down. I was like, they're not wrong. They're not.
You're not wrong, friends. Thank you for listening to this episode of Files from the Other Side. You can find us on Instagram at Files from the Other Side. Share this podcast if you like it, and don't forget to subscribe.
We'll see you on the other side.